Ready.
Okay, let's start off with a call to order and a roll call.
Mayor Lawson,
Here.
council members Abbott,
Here.
Vanderwell,
Here.
Anderson,
Here.
Bybee,
Here.
Dare,
Here.
City Attorney Adams,
Here.
City Manager Cruz.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to invocation. Councilman Dare, will you lead us in an invocation?
Honored to. Lord, we come to you and we do thank you for a new year. And you walked with us in the last year and with so many different people. I know there's some that have had loss. We do pray you continue to guide them and be with them. We pray for our first responders, our doctors, our nurses, all that this means with the vaccine. Help us move forward off of the highway we seem we're on and help our businesses continue to find ways to get through, but let us thrive again. Be with us this year as we make decisions. In your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Anderson, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Sure thing. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, move on now to public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
If it is all right with you, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to go ahead and read the opening announcement and then we'll canvass for public comment.
Please do.
Good afternoon and thank you for joining us. Due to the social distancing requirements enacted in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Sparks City Council meetings will be hosted in this virtual setting until further notice. The safety of Sparks residents, employees, and elected officials are important to us, and we appreciate your patience as we journey through this virtual meeting together. The City of Sparks uses Zoom, a third-party app, for its virtual meetings and does not control its technical specifications or requirements. Your ability to participate in public comment during this meeting may be impacted by factors like the type of device you use, the strength of your internet or cellular signal, and the company that provides your internet or cellular service. The City of Sparks is not responsible if you are not able to participate in a meeting through Zoom due to these or any other factors. For those watching and listening from home, general public comment will be announced for items 4 and 12.1. If you wish to speak during general public comment, you will need to call in using the phone number or join via the meeting link provided on the City Council agenda. Public comment will not be permitted on social media outlets. All participants will be muted upon entry to the meeting. If you would like to speak during public comment items, press *9 from your telephone or raise your hand on your computer or tablet when prompted. You will be called on to speak one at a time by the name or the telephone number that you are calling from. No video callers will be admitted to the meeting. When you are called on to speak for public comment, please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name and you will have 3 minutes. Please remember that any comments or questions cannot be addressed or answered by the council if the topics have not been agendized. Any person who disrupts the meeting to the extent that it is disorderly conduct will be removed from the meeting. And at this time, if you would like to participate in public comment, please press *9 from your telephone or raise your hand from your Zoom app. And I do have one emailed in, Mr. Mayor, while we're waiting.
Okay, go ahead.
Dear Honorable Sparks City Council members, the citizens of Sparks respectfully request to know why the Washoe County Commissioner meetings and the Washoe County School District Board meetings allow for in-person public comment, yet the Sparks City Council is still refusing to allow the citizens that actually reside in Washoe County to publicly comment at their meetings. Frankly, it gives the suggestion of impropriety by the Sparks City Council. Sincerely, Reva Crump. And I'm not showing any additional public comment, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so let's move on to approval of the agenda. Looking for a motion, addition, pull an item.
Move to approve.
Got to move. Motion by Mr. Dare, second by
Abbott.
Abbott.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Minutes, we're looking for possible approval of the minutes. Any additions, correction, deletions? If not, looking for a motion, Ms. Bybee.
I move to approve the minutes of the Sparks City Council meeting
for December 14th, 2020 as submitted.
I'll second Vanderwell.
Got a motion by Bybee, second by Vanderwell. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, number 7, announcements, presentation, recognition items, and items of special interest. Boards and commissions, vacancy announcement, Truckee River Fund Advisory Committee. And I believe that's Mr. Kreutz.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mayor Lawson and members of the council. Neil Kreutz, your city manager for the record. I'm here to announce a vacancy that we have on the Truckee River Fund Advisory Committee. This position serves at the pleasure of the mayor and city council. There is not a defined term. Applications for this committee will be accepted through 5 p.m. this Friday, January 15th, 2021. Then moving on to item 7.2, we have 2 vacancies for the Western Nevada Development District Board of Directors for private citizen appointments. Applicants must be involved in business, industry, one of the professional services, or education. Both appointments are for 2-year terms that run through December 31st of 2022. Applications for both of those vacancies will be accepted until 5 p.m. on Friday, January 29th, 2021. Persons interested in serving on any of these committees announced today should complete a community services application available through the city's website. That's at www.cityofsparks.us/get-involved. Once you're there, click on volunteering for a Sparks board, commission, or committee, fill out the form and press submit. Thank you very much, Mayor Lawson.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on to item 7.3, proclamation, National Radon Action Month. Councilman Abbott.
Yep, I'll take that one. So, whereas many City of Sparks residents don't know about radon, yet need to know for the safety and the health of their families, as radon is a colorless and odorless, naturally occurring radioactive gas that is the primary cause of lung cancer among non-smokers and the second leading cause of lung cancer for smokers. And whereas the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, estimates 21,000 people in the U.S. die each year from lung cancer caused by indoor radon exposure. And whereas radon kills more people than secondhand smoke, drunk driving, and home fires combined. Whereas any home in Sparks may have elevated levels of radon, even if neighboring homes do not. And living in a home with average radon levels of 4 picocuries per liter of air poses a similar risk of developing lung cancer as smoking half a pack of cigarettes a day. And whereas testing is the only way to know if a home has an elevated radon level, and testing is easy and inexpensive, and when identified, homes can be fixed. Whereas the University of Nevada, Reno's Extension Nevada Radon Education Program, the Nevada's Division of Public and Behavioral Health, and the EPA support efforts to encourage all of City Sparks residents to test their homes for radon, mitigate elevated levels of radon, and have new homes built with radon-reducing materials and features. Now, therefore, I, on behalf of Mayor Ed Lawson, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim January 2021 as National Radon Action Month.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone with us, Lisa, or are we good?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right, let's move on to consent items. Looking for a motion. Does anyone want to pull a consent item? If not, I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent items.
I'll move to approve 8.1 through 8.6 consent. Sorry, Paul. Like this is a game show. Whoever's the quickest.
It'll be passed on the buzzer. And we got a second from Mr. Anderson.
Second, yes, sir.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving on to general business, 9.1. Consideration, discussion, and possible approval of amendment number 2 to contract of employment AC 5553 for Spark City Manager. Neil, where did
Good
you
afternoon
go?
again, Mayor Lawson and members of the council. I am here before you today asking that you take 3 actions relative to my pay that would serve to end the pay-related reductions and waivers that I requested you apply to me last May of 2020. As you'll recall, we declared a state of emergency for the COVID-19 pandemic back in the 3rd week in March. And at that point in time, or shortly thereafter, the governor ordered many of our businesses to temporarily close, and he drastically reduced the operational capacity of many of the businesses that remained open. We anticipated as an organization dramatically lower revenues as a result of essentially the shuttering of our economy, and spent a lot of planning time looking for potential operational cuts inside our organization if the revenues demanded that. As part of that, I asked you, and you agreed back in May of 2020 to reduce my salary by 5%, to decline to provide me a merit raise at that point in time, and also to not provide me a cost of living adjustment that would have gone into effect per my employment contract in July of 2020. While the fiscal outlook is still a little bit uncertain, it is a lot better than what we were planning for, and you know, it's a nice place to be. The consolidated taxes, or C taxes as we often refer to them, did not fall off to the levels that we anticipated and were planning for, thankfully. So we didn't make a whole bunch of changes in our organization. Given the positive changes in these circumstances, I'm before you today asking you to restore the reduction in pay, provide me a merit increase and a cost of living adjustment, you know, the items that I chose to forego last May. I will note that if you do approve of these changes I'm asking for today, they would not apply retroactively. Instead, any increase that you offer me today wouldn't take effect until the next full pay period following today's consideration. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Questions from the council? Mr. Dare.
I just want to say thank you for being willing to step up so quickly and lead the charge. We obviously had no idea what the future was going to hold, and it was kind of a crazy time to try to even predict it, but we had to predict for the worst because it seemed like the worst was coming, and we're thankful it did not. We still have a lot of climbing to do, but I think that's very appropriate what you're asking. So I just want to say thank you, though, for your leadership.
Thank you.
Ms. Spivey.
I would agree with Councilman Dare and agree that Neil did lead the charge on that. Many of us also took a pay cut at the time because I think most of us felt it was the right thing to do because we didn't know what the circumstances would be, and it set an example for the rest of our employees and for our constituents that we're willing to take those cuts because we care about the finances of the city and if we could help at all. And I appreciate the city manager leading the way on that. I also want to say thank you for not asking us to make it retroactive. I think the point of taking them at the time that we did was because it was a different time then. And I appreciate you not asking us to go retroactive because again, we don't know as we move through the next 6 months to year, we're not out of the woods yet. So, and we know that. And thank goodness federal funding and CARES Act has helped us dramatically, as well as CTAX being a little bit better, but we don't know what the next 6 months hold. So I am ready to make a motion, Mr. Mayor, if you would like.
Well, let me just make sure that we don't have any other comments. Do we have
Okay.
any other comments? And you have read the amendment number 2 and the different actions. There's basically 5 actions there. Okay. All right. Then go ahead and make the motion then, Ms. Ivy.
Okay, I move to approve amendment number 2 to the contract of employment AC 5553 of the Sparks City Manager.
Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Anderson. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you,
very
Neil.
much. Very much appreciate this.
Yep. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to 9.2, consideration possible acceptance of an Office of Criminal Justice Assistant 2020 Justice Assistant Grant, JAG AC 5723, award in the amount of $69,000. And there's the chief, Mr. Crawford. You go right ahead.
Good afternoon, Mayor Lawson, members of the council. For the record, Chris Crawford, your police chief. What's before you today is a request to accept this grant that we asked you to apply for back in April. And with your permission, Mr. Lawson, if that's right, I'd like to indulge you for a few minutes and show a quick PowerPoint on this, what we're buying with these funds.
Please do.
If I can figure it out, we're going to give it a whirl here. You able to see that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So what we're buying with these funds, there'll be a small amount that will also be coming from the department funds. This is a virtual simulator for our training. One of the very neat things about this, on top of just new technology, is also the savings that we will utilize. So I just wanted to share with yourself and the council what traditionally happens is we do simunitions, which is essentially paintball rounds through the guns that we actually carry on duty, but something gets changed out so that we can use the same guns for real effects. With this, that usually takes us approximately 20 employees to run a day worth of scenarios for about 25% of the department. So it's a big time constraint and cost, as you will. With this, as you can see in this picture, everything's going to be very realistic, and it will be 1 to 2 personnel to put an entire team through, which is exciting. We can set this up on premise and run through it like even during briefing just before officers hit the road. So time-wise and on top of the technology, pretty neat stuff. As you can see, it says multiple courses available here. So there is over 100 courses already built in. We can add to that, but there are a lot of pretty intriguing things to get us started so we can hit the ground running. Lead time on this to us is approximately 30 days once we go forward with this process. As I talked previously, there is a lot of time built in, as well as the savings just through personnel and staffing that we won't have to try and go through what we usually do. I discussed it previously. There's a quick change out through our firearms so that there is realistic feel if you were to discharge a firearm, or it gives you a little kickback so our officers are used to what they would truly face. To top it off, all of the intermediate weapons, as we call them, are tied into this system. So if you were to go through a scenario and use a taser, it is lifelike. So you're actually feeling that, and it will say whether it worked appropriately or not for you, including the OC pepper spray. This is the part that I will probably have to monitor a little bit. So this is a little volts of electricity back to our officers to make sure that you're doing things right, but also if you were actually to be injured on duty in some altercation, it gives you a little feedback, and that would be a great thing to teach officers how to kind of fight through things and things of that nature. So we'll just have to make sure that our guys teaching this don't go a little too crazy, but actually it's a little just small thing. So neat little technology that got built in is using a handheld or gun mounted light. It actually will show you the light on the screen as you're watching the scenario. It's recording and videotaping the whole thing so you can play back and discuss that. And overall, this is kind of what it looks like. So you're aware there's a substantial cost increase to go to the 3 to 5 screens that you're seeing. So ours to get started will just be 1 screen. As you can see, we can put multiple officers in, and it's just an interesting use of technology, and there'll be a lot of cost savings over time with personnel. So that is what I have before you, and that is what, if the council and goes forward with accepting this, we will move forward with this purchase. Thank you.
Question from the council. Mr. Abbott.
How much is another screen, or do you have to buy 1 or you buy 2 or to expand?
Yeah, 1 screen is what this costs, and then each screen is roughly 15 to 20,000 depending on size and some other things. So I do foresee us adding to that over time.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks, Chief.
Other questions? If not, I'm looking for a motion.
I can make the motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I move to accept the Office of Criminal Justice Assistance 2020 Justice Assistance Grant AC-5723, award in the amount of $69,000.
Okay, looking for a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dare. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Chief, you're up on 9.3, consideration possible acceptance of an Office of Criminal Justice Assistant grant in the amount of $19,100. Go ahead,
Well,
Chief.
Good afternoon again, Mayor Lawson, members of the council. For the record, Chris Crawford, your police chief. This is yet another grant that we applied for back in actually May. It was a month later, asking for your approval to apply for it. We were granted approximately 19,000. Double that will be 2 computers that are used solely in our detective division. One of them is, we currently have one. It's an Ocean System computer. That one is used to process all recordings that come in from the public during investigations. So your surveillance videos, to process that. That system we currently have is 12 years old. And as I think Mr. Abbott more than anybody can attest to, that is a very old computer. So with that, we will be replacing that, which will bring a lot of technology with it. And then the second computer is a Tolino Forensic Workstation. This is a computer that will actually image other computers. So if we're doing massive embezzlements, are the ones I think about, where we need to take a computer through a warrant and then image all the information on it for an investigation. So that is bringing that to fruition, which will once again pull away from the time constraints our folks have to use, and that will build onto their time to get back to the regular work. And that's what I have for you.
Okay, questions from the council? Ms. Bybee.
Yeah, Chief, thank you. Obviously, the technology is incredibly important that we keep upgrading. My only question was, it says it will partially fund the purchase of these systems. Is the rest of the purchase already in your budget, or where are the other funds for the remaining costs of these systems coming from?
Yes, ma'am. This was budgeted. The remaining amount was budgeted to cover those costs in our budget currently.
Okay, so this will just offset what we've already budgeted.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Other questions from the council? Okay, no questions. I'm looking for a motion.
I'll go ahead and make the motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I move to accept the Office of Criminal Justice Assistance OCJA AC 5724 2020 Justice Assistance Grant JAG Award in the amount of $19,100.
Mr. Anderson, thank
Yes,
you. You got beat out by a split second. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, the chief is on display today. 9.4, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a 3-year contract AC 5728 with ProQA priority dispatch software for the Sparks Emergency Dispatch Center's implementation of the emergency fire dispatch protocols in the amount of $117,217 for the first year, which will be reimbursed from the 9/11 surcharge funds. All right, Chief, or
Mr. Mayor, Police Services Manager, Ms. Brown is going to handle this one for me.
thanks, Lisa.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. This is a request basically to approve funding that Washoe County is going to give us to pay for software for dispatch to utilize some national fire protocols. This is a computer system that integrates with our current CAD system that sets national standards on how we question and operate with our fire department. There's a lot of benefits to this that we don't have already, and some of them are just basically setting standards across the board between all 3 agencies. Reno and county already utilize these protocols. It allows us to ask the proper safety questions for our fire personnel. For citizens, it will walk us through if someone's stuck in a structure fire or something. It will give us guidance on what to instruct citizens to do in those emergent events. And it will provide ongoing training and quality assurance internally. For the city, the big picture, it's supposed to reduce our ISO rating, or increase the rating so the fees reduce, and decrease our liability citywide as long as we follow these protocols. we are not liable for anything that basically goes wrong during those calls. So that's a big benefit for us citywide. The kind of big picture thing on this too is the E911 board has funded this for all 3 PSAPs, has approved the funding for us, and the BCC has ratified that for us as well. So this is a no cost thing for the city, which is a big deal because it's such an expensive piece of software. And then as we renew them every year, I have to take it back to 911 for approval. So those costs are quite a bit less, but we expect them to be approved annually as we incur those fees. So it's a big deal for our dispatch center. So I'm looking forward to implementing that.
Okay. Questions from the council? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion.
I can make a motion, sir.
Go ahead.
I move to approve a 3-year contract, AC 5728, with Pro QA Priority Dispatch Software for the Sparks Emergency Dispatch Center's implementation of emergency fire dispatch protocols in the amount of $117,217 for the first year, which will be reimbursed from 911 surcharge funds.
Okay, looking for a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Anderson, second. Any further discussion?
I do have one question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So that said, it covers for the first year. How about the following 2 years of the 3-year thing of the contract? So the following 2 years, are we paying for that?
No, the following 2 years, each year we incur those costs. So it's supposed to be, the contract fee is $12,000 for the second and $12,000 for the third. When that cost comes up or we get billed for that, we will pay for that, but then I go back to E911 and request reimbursement again. And they have been paying that for all the PSAPs for the last couple of years.
Thank you. I just wanted clarification.
Yeah.
Move stand. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Lisa. All right, 9.5, consideration, discussion, approval of resolution number 3368, repealing resolution number 3344 regarding salary and benefits for executive employees. Mr. Kreutz. You gotta unmute yourself.
That is actually me, Mayor Lawson.
Oh, sorry. I didn't see it. You snuck in there on me, Allison. I didn't.
I'm sneaky sometimes. Good afternoon, Mayor Lawson and City Council. For the record, I'm Allison McCormick, your Assistant City Manager for Management Services. I'm before you today requesting approval of resolution number 3368. This resolution would repeal resolution number 3344, which governs salaries, leave, and other benefits for certain executive employees. We commonly refer to that as the executive resolution. Positions governed by the executive resolution include both assistant city managers, the chief financial officer, the police and fire chiefs, the human resources director, and the parks and recreation director. As the council probably recalls, in November 2020, the council approved individual employment agreements with each of the employees in those positions. Those agreements address all benefits for those employees. There is one exception to that, which is the Parks and Recreation Director. That position is currently filled on an acting basis. When that position is filled permanently, the city would enter into an individual employment agreement with that employee, and that agreement would address all benefits as well. Approval of those employment agreements has rendered the executive resolution redundant. That redundancy may lead to confusion or disputes about benefits in the future. For that reason, staff recommends that council repeal the executive resolution by approving resolution 3368. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions from the council? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Abbott.
I move to approve resolution number 3368, repealing resolution number 3344 regarding salaries and benefits for executive employees.
Mr. Anderson.
I'll make the second.
Thank you. I knew you would. All right. Any further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And 9.6, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a 2-year professional services contract, AC 5726 with Camper Crowell Limited for Nevada Legislature lobbying and consulting service in the amount of $120,000. And Allison, you're going to do this one also.
Thank you, sir. Again, for the record, I'm Assistant City Manager Allison McCormick. This item is a proposed professional services agreement with Kemper Crowell Limited, a Nevada law firm that specializes in legislative affairs and other matters. Under the proposed agreement, Kemper Crowell would provide lobbying and consulting services to the city for the 2021 legislative session. Before, during, and after the session, Kemper Crowell representatives will meet with legislators, provide feedback and testimony regarding bills, advocate for the city's legislative platform, and provide updates to the city's legislative team regarding the development and progress of various bills. In exchange for that representation, the city will pay Kemper Crowell $5,000 per month during the 2-year term of the agreement. That's January 1, 2021 through December of 2022. That means an annual cost of $60,000 or a total cost of $120,000. Staff does recommend approval of the agreement with Kemper Crowell. Mike Hillerby, our primary representative from Kemper Crowell, who has been lobbying in Nevada since 1991, is available for any questions that the council may have of him, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have of me.
Questions from the council? You guys are easy. All right, seeing none, I'm looking for a motion. Well, you know what? Let's do this. Since Mike showed up, let's get him on here anyway, just to see his smiling face. And then ask Mike if he has any comments to make. There he is.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hopefully you can hear me. Trying to make the technology work here.
Yes, sir.
Again, I'm really excited to have the opportunity to represent the city in which I've lived for many, many years. Even went to elementary school for a while at Robert E. Mitchell way back when. I won't tell you how many years ago. Allison's already outed me a little bit as having lobbied for the last 30 years. So very excited to represent the city. Proud of the city in which I live and the job all of you do and your predecessors over the years in doing good work for the city and keeping your heads down, which is really what this is all about. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Mr. Dare.
I just want to say I'm ready to make a motion, but also hopefully if this all goes how we wanted, everything moves forward. I think you've done a great job in our community. We've seen that, and so I think that's a great addition. So
Okay.
I'm ready to make a motion if you'd like.
Let me just ask if there's any other questions.
Just comment.
Spivey?
Excuse me. Just comment. I'm excited to work with Mike and with his firm, serving on the legislative team for the city this session, along with the mayor. I'm excited to, I think, to look forward to working with the legislature. It obviously is going to be an exceptionally challenging session. But I think we're up to the task, and I feel very confident in working with his firm as they represent our interests at the legislature and then beyond to the interim sessions as well. So thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, Mr. Dare, looking for your motion.
Sure. I move to approve the 2-year professional services contract AC 5726 with Kemper Crowell Ltd. for Nevada legislator lobbying and consulting services in total not to exceed $120,000.
I'll second that. Bybee.
Second from Bybee. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity.
All right, sir. Thank you. Okay, let's move on. Consideration 9.7. Consideration, discussion, of possible ratification of the city manager's approval of a 2-year professional services contract AC 5727 with Hardy Consulting Group, LLC for Nevada legislature lobbying and consulting service in a total amount not to exceed $30,000. And Allison, you have this one also.
Thank you, Mayor Lawson. For the record, I am still Allison McCormick, your Assistant City Manager. This item is similar to the previous item in that it's a proposed professional services agreement for Nevada lobbying and consulting services. This item, however, is with Hardy Consulting Group, which will coordinate lobbying efforts between the cities of Sparks, Henderson, Las Vegas, and Reno on matters that all 4 cities agree upon. Each city will pay Hardy Consulting separately and enter into separate agreements with Hardy Consulting. But Hardy Consulting will provide services to the cities as a group. One matter that Hardy Consulting might be involved with for the cities is property tax, assuming that the cities agree on those proposed measures. Before, during, and after the legislative session, Hardy Consulting will meet with legislators, provide feedback and testimony regarding bills, advocate for the 4 cities' legislative platforms where those platforms overlap, and provide updates regarding the development and progress of various bills. In exchange, the city of Sparks will pay Hardy Consulting a total of $30,000 over the 2-year term of the agreement. Again, that's January 2021 through December of 2022. Those payments will be broken up as follows: $2,000 per month from January through June of 2021, and $1,000 per month from July 2021 through December of 2022. Because the total value of the agreement is less than $50,000, the city manager has approved the agreement. But given the importance of this legislative session to the city, staff wanted to seek council's approval of this important piece of the city's legislative strategy. Staff does recommend that city council ratify this agreement, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the council? Ms. Bybee.
Not a question so much as a comment. I appreciate this strategy. I think it's really smart for us to hire Mr. Hardy, Warren Hardy, obviously longtime legislator himself, incredible knowledge of the legislature and how it works. But I think bringing the 4 cities together with one voice, besides our own, each of us having our own lobbyists, I think makes a lot of sense. And so I think the strength of the 4 cities together will be beneficial to the city of Sparks and to the state as we look at items that are, that are conflict or beneficial to all 4 cities. And obviously we care about the state as a whole, but I like that, power in numbers of taking 2 southern and 2 northern cities to do this. So I appreciate this contract and I support it.
And Mr. Dare.
I just have a comment as well. I want to say one of the things we've been able to watch Warren Hardy work for the last year and a half on a lot of things we're about to face. And so I think it's a very good hire, and we've seen him work very diligently across the state with the Nevada League of Cities. But really a lot of the work is done on this stuff before you ever get to legislation, and he's done a lot of that work. So this is wise on our end, and I think strategic in nature. So good job.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Anderson, go ahead.
Move to ratify the city manager's approval of the 2-year professional services contract AC 5727 with Hardy Consulting Group LLC for the Nevada Legislature lobbying and consulting services in a total amount not to exceed $30,000.
Ms. Bybee, you want a second?
Yep, I will second that motion. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And I'm right in agreement with all of you. Makes perfect sense to have somebody with some expertise in Carson City. And I think Warren's going to do a great job for us. All right, 9.8. Consideration, discussion, and possible ratification of an agreement AC 5725 between the City of Sparks, City of Reno, Walgreens Company, and provide up to 30,000 point of care testing for COVID-19 at Walgreens locations in the amount of $3.75 million, with Sparks' share being $1.125 million. And Mr. Kreutz, are you doing, no, Allison?
You're stuck with me. For the record, I remain Allison McCormick, your Assistant City Manager. In March of 2020, the city manager declared a local state of emergency related to the global outbreak of COVID-19. And as we all know too well, that pandemic is ongoing. Through the state of Nevada, the city received approximately $19.2 million in CARES Act funding. And in July of 2020, the city council gave the city manager some conceptual guidance on potential uses of that funding. Based on that guidance, in November 2020, staff began discussions with the city of Reno and Walgreens pharmacies for the cities to use CARES Act funds to pay Walgreens to provide rapid COVID-19 testing to the public. Those discussions ultimately resulted in the agreement that is before the council for ratification today. Under the agreement, Walgreens will provide up to 30,000 rapid COVID-19 tests to the public at no charge to the members of the public. In exchange for those testing services, Sparks and Reno will pay Walgreens a total of $3.75 million, $125 per test, divided as follows. Sparks will pay Walgreens $1.125 million, or 30% of the total fee. And Reno will pay Walgreens $2.625 million, or 70% of the total fee. Tests are available at 4 Walgreens locations in Sparks and 4 Walgreens locations in Reno. Walgreens expects to turn test results around within 24 hours and will communicate test results with the patient in accordance with applicable guidance. In the event that Walgreens does not administer all 30,000 tests before February 28th of 2021, the parties may either agree to extend the term of the agreement, or Walgreens will refund the cities for the unused tests at $125 per test, with 70% of the refund going to Reno and 30% to Sparks, just like the original payment amount. If the cities want Walgreens to provide additional testing after the initial 30,000 tests, the cities will pay $125 per test going forward. Because time was of the essence, the city manager approved the agreement on December 7th, 2020, and testing began on December 28th, 2020. Under NRS 414.090 subsection 3, Sparks Municipal Code sections 1.30.010 and 2.20.025, the city manager's emergency approval of the agreement was appropriate for the following reasons. Staff reviewed the terms of the agreement and found them acceptable. The agreement expands the availability of COVID-19 testing in the region, a service that is desperately needed in our community. Improving access to testing is in the best interests of the health and safety of residents of Sparks, and the testing services provided through the agreement are needed and time is of the essence. In addition, using CARES Act funds for this agreement is appropriate to pay the costs of the agreement because the contract was a necessary expenditure due to the public health emergency caused by COVID-19. The costs were not accounted for in the city's fiscal 20 or fiscal 21 budgets. The costs were incurred between March 1st, 2020 and December 31st, 2021, and the CARES Act funds are not being used to offset a revenue shortfall. Staff does recommend that City Council ratify the agreement with the City of Reno and Walgreens, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the council? Ms. Bybee.
Yeah, Allison, do we know at this point in time how many vaccines have been administered already, and are they projecting? I know it's 30,000 until they're gone, or February 28th. But do you know where we are on track as far as number of vaccines altogether in Reno and Sparks so far?
To be clear, this agreement was for testing, not for vaccines.
I'm sorry, testing. My mind is on vaccines.
Yeah.
That'll come later. Okay, sorry.
As of January 3rd, a little under 800 tests had been administered in Sparks, and I can find the total data for both Reno and Sparks, if you give me one moment.
And I guess too, are we continuing our messaging? I know there was initial messaging on the availability of the vaccines. Are we continuing messaging so that residents are aware that they can get these vaccines?
We did some initial messaging, but we can absolutely do a revamp of that messaging now that some time has passed and we're past the holidays when people might be a little more focused on things besides family and food. As of January 3rd, between the two cities, 1,346 tests had been administered under the contract. That is the latest data we have available, but I would expect an update in the coming days.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Any other questions, Mr. Dare?
Yeah, I just have a thought, and I know we talked a little bit about it, but it's probably something for us all to keep on our minds. With the vaccine coming out, part of my mind questions some of our finances in the future. I understand why we're doing what we're doing now. I think it was wise to do the testing. But as we roll forward, it would seem the vaccines are the things that it's going to be the thing to get us off this highway of closed down businesses, and more important than anything. And so I just want to plant that seed that in the long run, I think that the future holds in us finding ways to invest in that. I mean, obviously what we've done makes sense. I have no problem with it. I'm not even complaining. I think it's wise, and I think it was wise for the moment. And it's a bridge into where we're going right now. But the next steps to come, it would seem like finding ways to make sure vaccines can get in people's hands would be a best move, in my opinion.
Any other comments from the council? So I do have a question for Neil and Allison. So at this testing rate, we're not going to get to 30,000 anytime soon. With 1,300 out of 30,000 tests being done. What was there a cutoff time for this? Can we move that money to vaccines, or I mean, is there another place that we can use the money?
So the initial agreement term expires February 28th of this year. If it's the council's direction at that time to request a refund for any outstanding tests, we can do that and redirect that funding towards vaccines or other necessary response activities. Alternatively, if testing is still something that the community needs and the council desires at that time, we can extend the term of the agreement to continue to provide testing services. Mr. Kreutz, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Just to agree completely with what you've said there, Allison, and to say that I think it'll be appropriate for us to consider the path forward in the 4 to 5 week period. Then we'll have a better idea of where we stand on actual number of tests that have been conducted, the public's interest in continuing to use this outlet as an opportunity to get tested, and to see a little bit further down the road where we are on vaccines, who's been approved to provide those. Certainly, we're working hand in hand with the Washoe County Health District, to see that people can get vaccines, most access to vaccines most broadly as possible. Right now, if we were to compare it to the infrastructure in place for, say, flu shots or pneumonia shots or single shots, you can go to your pharmacist and get any of those today. I would like to see us as a community make the vaccine as easily obtained as a flu shot is. So I think we will be in a better position to decide as an organization what we want to do with those dollars that right now we've dedicated towards testing, when we've got a few more weeks under our belt on both the testing side and on the vaccine side.
Ms. Spivey.
To kind of follow up on that, so Allison, the number you gave us was just for 1 week, December 28th to January 3rd. It's just 1 week of testing. So I would agree with the city manager looking at what those numbers are as we're moving forward. And I guess my question would be, and I don't disagree with if we can help with vaccination costs, whether we can we move that, because it's CARES Act funding and because we've already designated it before December 30th, how are our hands tied at all with that funding, whether we get a refund or whether we redirect it? I know the CARES Act funding was so restrictive. What are we allowed to do or not do if we don't use this full amount?
So the recent legislation actually extended the deadline to spend CARES Act funds through December of 2021. So we're not constrained by time necessarily. However, I believe our finance team has kind of moved that money around and has found ways to use it by that original December 30th of 2020 deadline and report those uses to the state. And I see Mr. Cronk is on if you would like to hear it straight from him.
Yes, if I could, Jeff Cronk, for the record, your Chief Financial Officer. Just to clarify some of the accounting of it, we approached this with utmost flexibility in mind, knowing that the dates were getting right down to it. So what we ended up doing is we're going to be using CARES Act dollars, but we're funding it out of the general fund. So that gives us all the flexibility that we need. And what I mean by that is that we're not reporting it to the state that we're using those funds, because those had to be expended and incurred and used by December 30th. So we just aren't going to do that. But what we're able to do is offset our public safety payroll costs that are within the general fund, and we'll just swap them. So we're gonna move payroll costs, more payroll costs onto the grant, and then these costs will come out of the general fund. So it's good. It'll be a wash at the end of the day, and that gives us a lot more flexibility on time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor Lawson, if I could speak to one point that Councilwoman Bybee made.
Please.
The 1,346 tests that have been administered are just between December 28th, the initial testing date, and January 3rd, and that included January 1st, during which testing was not available because of the New Year's Day holiday. So I think in the coming weeks, we'll have much more representative data as far as how many tests are administered under this contract.
Okay. All right, any other questions or comments? With that, then I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Dare?
I move to ratify the agreement AC 5725 between the City of Sparks, City of Reno, and Walgreens Company to provide up to 30,000 point of care tests for COVID-19 at Walgreens locations, with Sparks' share being $1,125,006.
Okay, looking for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Bybee. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. This will be interesting to see how these tests shake out in the next coming weeks. But just about basically have to triple in 4 weeks to get close to our 30,000. So that'll be interesting to see how it works out. Is that just on as an aside, have we talked to our PIO to see about doing some public service announcements, announcing this again, just to remind people?
We have not, but as soon as the meeting's over, I will.
Okay, just might as well make it as easy as possible for folks to get a test if they want to, since we've made Ms. Bybee.
And if I can add to that, I don't think people realize they're the rapid tests. I think it was just testing. And I think if people realize it's a rapid test, and a lot, that makes a big difference for people, whether it's work or childcare, or, I mean, people needing a rapid test, I think has a much higher benefit than just another COVID test that you have to wait a week to get your results back on. So I don't think we messaged that. And I think if people knew that, I think more people might take advantage of it because of the cost involved. So maybe that's part of the messaging. And that's up to, obviously, you working with Ms. Jewell, if you feel like that's appropriate.
Okay. All right, moving on.
Thank you.
So we have no public hearing. We have no planning and zoning. We're down to item 12, comments from the public. Madam Clerk.
If anybody has a public comment at this time, please press *9 from your telephone or use the raise your hand feature from your Zoom app. We'll give them just a moment, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
And I don't think I do have a public comment. The public comment is from Telephone number 775-657-8968. Your line is open. Please state your name and begin speaking.
Hi, I'm calling because I'm a mom and a business owner and a community member, and I'm here to request a public hearing from this board to address the response of the city to the COVID-19 in the last 9 months. I'm here to discuss the lockdown and the lack of public input or the legislative input on it. Businesses are closed. Unemployment is the second highest in the country. Suicides are up. Homicides are up 400%. And we are depriving not only the state, the county, and the city tax revenue, but the governor just said that there's no more funding. So we need to open up because this is causing an economic devastation, and we can end this. The PCR tests are flawed. The state health department has confirmed that the positive PCR test does not definitively mean infectiousness or contagiousness. The WHO has said that the lockdowns have done more harm than good. The UN has estimated that 130 million additional people will starve this year as a result to the economic damage resulting from the lockdowns. The most compassionate approach to balance the risk and benefit and reaching the herd immunity is to allow those who are at minimal risk of death to live their lives normally and to build up immunity to the virus through natural infection, which is better at protecting those who are at risk. Thank you.
Ma'am, before you go off the line, can you give us your name, please? Just for the record.
Yes, my name's Erin Massengale.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it. Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have any other public comment?
I'm not showing any additional public comment at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, comments from the mayor, city council, city manager? Anybody? I knew it. Mr. Dare.
I just want to say that I'm disappearing is what I want to say. That sun is coming in on my window. Is that we are very hopeful that 2021 and just to our citizens and people that we will come out of this, and we have a lot of hope and we're moving forward, and we do want to see our businesses open and thriving. And it's been very difficult for so many. And so we are going to continue to make the best decisions we can and work within what we are allowed. But I think we have an awesome team here, and we really truly believe 2021 we'll start seeing open doors, and hopefully we can have all of our events and all the fun that we are used to having. So we definitely want to see things open and become healthy again. Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, I think congratulations are in order for Mr. Dare becoming the president of the Nevada League of Cities. And he's going to bring that convention to the city of Sparks, knock on wood. If everything gets back to normal here this summer, we'll greatly appreciate seeing our legislators from all around the state. And congratulations to you, Mr. Dare. That's a big honor.
Thank you. It's an honor to represent us and what we do, and we will. It's a good team there, but part of it is what we're just talking about and making sure we get out there. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. And with that, then I think the only other thing for me is we're hoping that 2021 will be a better year than 2020. We still have some work to do. Please bear with us. And unfortunately, you know, it's not all of this is in the control of the Sparks City Council. And there's other factors that play here. And so we're doing the best we can with the hand that we're dealt. And just bear with us and trust and know that the city council is doing everything we can to be as open and transparent and getting everybody back to work and businesses reopened as we can do. With that, then, Mr. Manager, you have any comments?
I do not. Thank you very much, Mayor Lawson.
Okay. All right. Seeing no one else, then that calls for the good of the order. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you later.